So we're going to pick it up from where we left off in the mysteries of the silent brotherhood of the East. Chapter 16, Yahshua passes the third adept test. Faith, the Logos, waited 7 days and then was taken to the Hall of Fame, a chamber rich in furnishings and lighted up with gold and silver lamps. That's the headline. Just a little backdrop, obviously, before we get into this. The colors of its ceiling decorations, furnishings, and walls were blue and gold. Its shelves were filled with books of masterminds. The paintings and statues were the works of the highest art. And Yahshua was entranced with all this elegance and these manifests of thought. He read the sacred books and sought the meanings of the symbols of the hieroglyphs. And when he was absorbed in deepest thought, a priest approached and said, "Behold, the glory of this place. My brother, you are blessed. Few men of earth so young have reached such heights of fame. Now, if you do not waste your life in search for hidden things that man can never comprehend, you may be founder of a school of thought that will assure you endless fame. For your philosophy is deeper far than that of Plato, and your teachings please the common people more than those of Socrates. Why seek for mystic light when within these antiquated dens? Go forth and walk with men, and they will honor you. And after all, these weird initiations may be myths, and your Messiah hopes but illusions of the hour. I would advise you to renounce uncertain things and choose the course that leads to certain fame. Choose the course to lead to certain fame. That's what that's what this person, this quote unquote priest is telling Yahshua. Choose the road that leads to fame. And thus, the priest, a demon in disguise, sang siren songs of unbelief, and Yahshua meditated long and well on what he said. The conflict was a bitter one, for King Ambition is a sturdy foe to fight. For 40 days, the higher self wrestled with the lower self, and then the fight was on. Faith rose triumph. Unbelief was not. Ambition covered up his face and fled or ran away. And Yahshua said, "The wealth, the honor, and the fame of earth are but the baubles of the hour." You look up baubles, something minute, a fraction, doesn't really matter. When this short span of earthly life has been measured out, man's bursting baubles will be buried with his bones. Yes, what man does for his selfish self will make no markings on the credit side of life. Right? We're talking about ledgers, accounting. That's accounting talk. Ledgers, credits, and debits. Right? Your selfish self will make no markings on the credit side of life. The good that man for other men shall do becomes a ladder strong on which the soul may climb to wealth and power and fame of Allah's own kind that cannot pass away. Give me the poverty of men, the consciousness of duty done in love, the approbation of Allah, and I will be content. This is Yahshua talking. And he filled up and he lifted up his eyes to heaven. My Father, Allah, I thank thee for this hour. I ask not for the glory of myself. I fain would be a keeper of the temple gates and serve my brother man. Again was Yahshua called to stand before the Hierophant. Again, no word was said, but in his hands the master placed a scroll on which was written, Faith. And Yahshua bowed his head in humble thanks and went his way. So as we see, we have the last 3 chapters that gave the title of Tempter. In Islam, happy holy day, Outdoor. Tempter.
Islam, Morris, peace and love. Happy holiday, Muslims. Islam, peace and love to all the mothers. Islam, nobles.
Tempter. So this chapter, what is he? The priest, a demon in disguise. It's synonymous, right? The whole point is he's being presented with an ultimatum or an easy way out. You could be praised. You could take the road of just, the fame. Yahshua didn't bite. Young man at this time. So I want to open the floor for any thoughts, analysis, anything that stood out on this piece.
Them trials and tribulations be real, I feel like we all go through our thing, and we just gotta, keep our mind right, and stay positive through all the obstacles. I mean, even though it gets hard, but you gotta keep your head up, overcome.
That's fine. Any other thoughts on this chapter?
So, it's all tests. Like when you walk in a certain light, you automatically attract a certain type of darkness that tries to trick you to pull you back down to that vibration. So it's knowing yourself so you don't get caught up in the illusions and listening to the sirens and the fake priests and everything. When you stay true to yourself, none of that shit is gonna touch you.
Islam.
Islam. She hit pretty much part of what I was going to say. That it seems like last couple of chapters that all the priests are more like gatekeepers and testing him more than teaching. And if that's the case for him, is it any different for us? Are they just there to see if we really study and if we really come in the name of what we say we come in?
Talk to him. That's crazy. That's what. Yeah, when you said that, it just hit me like, yes, they playing gatekeeper. And you can see that. You can see that in real time. Like you know what I mean? What's going to happen right now? There's people that's playing gatekeeper right now.
Yep, Boule and all these people, all these different levels doing the same thing. So maybe that's what they're supposed to be doing, and we're just supposed to overcome it, all of it.
What you saying, Tazmaji?
Oh no, that's why we assured the priesthood is dead. Like stop going to the people. Like go within your, it's within yourself. It's at the heart of yourself. You have a heart. Go that direction. Don't go outside of self through people. Priest. That's dead. Been dead.
What I feel like I've heard is just overcoming your lower self. He said 40 days and 40 nights. And I just feel like it's always the battle between lower self and higher self, and which one are you going to choose?
Yeah, Islam. Tug of war. That battle.
Balance the heart and the mind.
It also seems like every time we abstain from anything the world offers via fasting or whatever you want to call it, that's when we're able to call out the gatekeeper and eliminate the gatekeeper at the same time.
And you notice once you call out that gatekeeper, they disappear. They don't fuck with you no more. But don't trip, because you're going to get a new gatekeeper. But it's a different test, it's a different level. So you just got to be mindful when the stuff is being presented to you.
Islam.
But if you notice in the earlier, I think it's in I think it was in like line 4, like, you know, he was breathing. He was meditating in there. And then when the priest pressed him with the issue, that's when, like, you know what I'm saying, all his height, like he started to reach his heights of it. It's like, oh man, I'm already there. Y'all about to give me another scroll, basically. Like, y'all ain't playing me with this. You know, he's getting tested by these priesthood.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. That's lying. They coming at him. They sending them. Somebody sending them. They sending them. They sending them.
I was gonna say they were sent.
Yeah.
Make
I
sure you
tested
send
as
their ass
well.
right back where the fuck they came from too. Like,
And they use the same tricks. It's always some ego-based thing. That's how you know who it is. Whether when Satan or the devil, Lucifer, whoever went to Jesus when he was fasting, he offered him egotistic things. It's the same here, talking about what do you say? Fame.
Yeah.
So, you know, they come with the same name all the time. It's like easy to spot the agents now.
Yeah, he told him, what did he say? He said, why seek for mystic light within these antiquated dens? Go forth and walk with men, and they will honor you. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? They was already trying to get him to, hey, nah, step out of yourself and go do this. You know what I'm saying? Go follow the illusion. Go serve. Go do what everybody else doing. You know what I'm saying? But he stayed on his square.
Yeah.
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, it's the same trick. They always offer you something shiny.
When you got the goal already.
You got the gold. You got
Right.
you got the jewels.
Right.
Trying to exploit you.
Mhm.
Make you a commodity, a consumer good. You know what I mean?
Man, they don't want you to shine and flicker. They don't really want you to be the star you are. You know what I'm saying?
because once you do that, they can't harvest your energy no more. It's a wrap for them. That's all it's about. Trying to fucking feed off other people's energy. Like,
you too bright for them now. You know what I'm saying? You activated. You know what I mean? There's no more low. It's all like, hold on. You know what I mean? It's an ascension. Ascension into higher self.
Yeah, I remember gargoyles. You know what I mean? When the light come out, they turn to stone. So that's gotta keep that light on them.
Hey, I remember that show, Gargoyles. Damn.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah, man. Now I know what it meant. I didn't know what it meant back then.
That was that heat.
Yeah.
Hey, but hey, there was the Guardians of the Night, you know?
Right. Yeah. Guardians of the night. Yeah, the gatekeepers of the night. That's what they was. You know what I'm saying? That shit was crazy, right? I was like 7 years old, 6 years old watching this cartoon. Didn't even know what they was hitting me with. Right there.
showing us how the spiritual world exists right in front of our face
Yeah.
through
All
animation.
them old school cartoons and shit, like
All of them.
Captain, was it Captain Planet?
Yeah.
When they
Yep.
had all of the rings with the different
Yep.
color chakras, the
Mhm.
Care Bears, the
5
Smurfs,
ether. There's 5
all
of
of
them.
that,
Too.
like,
They know who we are, so they cater to us, each generation by what energy is. They know who we represent. So they try
Star
to.
Wars, all that, everything.
That's crazy.
All
They had
comes
so
back
many.
to the Mars. It all comes back to the Mars.
Anybody have any other thoughts on this chapter? Transition to astro diagnosis. So continuing from where we left off with Astro Diagnosis, A Guide to Healing by Max Wendell, we're dealing with venereal disease. Pisces, a watery and negative sign, is on the ascendant, and the ruler, Jupiter. Oh, once again, let me rewind. We're dealing with a male born April 5th, 1896, 4 a.m. Pisces, a watery and negative sign, is on the ascendant, and the ruler, Jupiter, is in another watery sign, Cancer, 20 degrees, 18 minutes. Planets that are in the last 3 degrees of a sign are not as helpful and active as when they are less advanced in the sign. They act in the same manner as a ball thrown with force. By the time it reaches its destination, it has to some extent lost its speed. And the greater the distance it travels, the less its force. So we find that planets situated in the last 3 degrees of a sign partake partly of the sign in which they are placed, and also of the one following, giving a mixed vibration. Therefore, they express the nature of the two signs. In this horoscope, Jupiter is in the 5th house of pleasures and trine to Mercury, the planet of reason, which is in the impulsive and Mars sign of Aries. The moon, the ruler of the 5th house, is in the 11th house, ruling friends, in the sign of its fall, Capricorn, and in sextile to the planet of love and pleasure, Venus. That's crazy. The Moor just mentioned that as far as the Taurus dealing with the pleasures, and the ruling planet of Taurus is Venus. So it's right there. That's tarot type stuff right there. When the last named planet is on the ascendant, the native or patient is very apt to drift into the pleasure-loving path, the path of the senses. He is easily influenced by attention and flattery from the opposite sex. In this case, the moon, a feminine planet, in the house of friends, indicates that this young man's women friends will have the strongest influence in his life. Venus, another feminine planet on the ascendant, afflicted by a square of Neptune, the co-ruler of the ascendant, and the higher octave of Mercury situated in the Mercury sign of Gemini in the 4th house, indicates that his women friends will lead him into paths of senses, and may destroy his love for the home. For Venus is also trine to the restless and romantic Uranus and the materialistic Saturn. These last named planets are retrograde and in the Mars sign of Scorpio governing sex. Mars, the planet of passion, is in the fixed sign of Aquarius in the 12th house, that of self-undoing. and in the square aspect to Uranus and Saturn. Saturn and Mars are in mutual reception, strengthening the good or evil of these planets. What do we find? It happens that this poor young man's weakness and love for women have attracted licentious and free love companions, and the results is venereal disease, which has poisoned the blood. And with Venus, the planet ruling the venous circulation, So Venus controls the circulation through the veins. With that being on the ascendant and afflicted by the watery planet Neptune in the sign of the lungs, Gemini, quick consumption is the result. In February 1919, the progress moon reached the conjunction of the radical Saturn, which brought on the lung disease. Remember we're talking about Gemini, lung, right? In July, 5 months later, when the man called upon headquarters for healing, he was already in the advanced stage of galloping consumption. The following month, August, the moon made a square to the inflammatory Mars, which brought on hemorrhages. Here, we can see the influences of the planets, their causes and effects. The relatives of this young man did not understand why he should have contracted this disease of the lungs, which worked so rapidly and was so destructive. With the affliction from watery signs, the soil was well prepared for the seeds which were sown through dissipation and thoughtlessness. A case of this kind is very difficult to heal, for with the negative Pisces on the ascendant and Saturn and Uranus, the planets indicating impulse, yes, even stubbornness in conjunction with Scorpio and square to Mars, all in fixed signs, it is very hard to guide such a person into safe channels. And we find both the lights afflicted, the moon in the Saturn sign of Capricorn showing demonstration or determination and stubbornness, square to the sun and the impulsive sign of Mars. Hence, this young man would not listen to reason. He would do as he pleased, regardless of caution and advice. A life in the open air with careful diet and pure surroundings would be the only cure. So they're showing you remedies. A life in the open air with careful diet and pure surroundings would be the only cure. If he would listen to reason and adopt it, he might get well. That's interesting. And this is the day of Venus. So I find an interesting correlation dealing with Venus. It seems to be the theme in this chapter. But yeah, this is astro diagnosis. And once again, we have another patient. And what do we have here? What do we see? We see lung issues based on the Gemini constellations, right? We see inflammatory. That's the characteristics of the Mars ruling planets, right? And we've seen that in multiple case studies now. And as we know, the recurring theme of the ascendant being a strong indicator of how much willpower you have, right? So these are things that are just should be soaked in. Like, we're not going to, of course, grasp the whole book, but as we transition, we want to have certain things locked in and it'll be a good foundation. So after that, we can just reference the book for those little details and things like that. But yeah, I want to open the floor for thoughts. I even put the chart up. So the thoughts on this chapter. What stood out?
Okay, so this what I took was like basically an emotional imbalance. So from what I got, he needs more masculine energy in his chart. I just wrote down stuff real fast. Hopefully it makes sense. So it says Venus is in charge of love and attraction. And then the impulsiveness, looking for love in the wrong places. That's the emotional imbalance. And since he gravitates more towards female friends, I take that as being him being off with his masculine energy. If he was more in alignment with his masculine energy, then he would be able to make those corrections, and he wouldn't be so stubborn when people are trying to make those corrections. But instead he wants to keep feeding those impulses because that's like the false form of security. It's like an attachment.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a visual of the chart too. I don't know if you can see it.
What's the first house? So the first house was that Pisces, Venus, and Mercury. So Mercury and then the sun. So it should actually be balanced because I believe the sun and the Mercury are masculine, and then the Venus and the Pisces are both feminine. But then when I look across at the seventh house, that's empty. So yeah, I'm still learning how to read this stuff, and I'll read it different. So it takes me a while to catch up on pick up on certain things. And I really need to learn how to read these numbers. That'll help me out a lot. Still studying, still practicing, you know.
Yeah. No, I'll try to take a picture of like a wheel like this, and it'll have like all the houses and what each house means. I'll try to get a clear picture.
Oh yeah, I have that. I have it all written out. It's not in a full circle though. It's so I write down my stuff like, can you see it? I can't see what you can see. But like I have the houses, I have what they represent, and then stuff like that. It's like a quick little study reference for me to learn and keep track. So yeah.
Awesome. Any other thoughts on this chapter?
What is the seventh house? Why is it empty? Hold on, let me check real quick.
Stop the recording.
Oh, the seventh house is partnership. Okay, so now that makes sense. That's to me. Because the seventh house has to do with partnerships, your relationships, and your marriage, and it's ruled by Venus and Libra. The card is the Chariot. So when you're not balanced between your shadow self and your higher self, your Chariot don't go nowhere. You just stay in position. So that looking for love in the wrong places, that seventh house energy, if you're not balancing yourself, you go keep attracting those wrong partners. And them wrong partners is what got him caught up in that fuck shit, like, and him not knowing himself.
Mm-hmm. I like how they said the only remedy was fresh air, different habits.
So
go ahead.
I was gonna ask, what was it in his chart with that remedy they gave him? He still chose to ignore it.
Oh, what did he choose to ignore?
Yeah, didn't he get that remedy, but he still chose to ignore it and live the way he was living. Right. But I need to look at that part of I'm learning all of this brand new.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he basically, you're right. Yeah, basically all the patients. That's the moral of the story. Like if they was to change their diet and have be more disciplined in different areas, they could reverse. Because nothing's like mandatory. Everything's reversible.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, and so far, it's basically diet, state, for the most part. It's pretty much people cured. They do recommend like based on your like chemistry, DNA, your astrological makeup, of course, cell salts, and things like that for personalized supplements or whatever. But for the most part, it's mind state and having discipline not to overindulge in things all across the board.
Mhm.
But yeah, this particular person needed a lot air. He needed But the reason that's funny to me because I know a lot of tourists that go through that. They need to, obviously in Al Noor, he be in the meeting, he gotta walk outside. You know what I'm saying? And I got a cousin that's a tourist. He just always gotta like I need some air. And it's like it's crazy how all this stuff is spot on. Like, you know what I mean? Were you gonna say something, Phoenix?
No, I was just thinking about that whole air earth connection. Come figure it out. It's just in my brain.
Let me go to that spot because I think that's what she was asking me.
Yeah, and she was also asking why he's stubborn, and it's the Taurus energy is what makes you stubborn. That they're fixed.
Oh, that's what she was asking?
Part of it. I think that's
Yeah. Yeah, that was part of it. Like, because I thought he had, basically was given, this is what you need to do. But still, Saturn.
Right here, this little piece right here.
Yeah. With the negatives. Yeah, I need to study all of that.
That
It makes sense.
The squares are oppositions, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The squares, it's like opposition and conflict, right?
Yep.
conflict, yeah.
All right, so that's conflict and impulsiveness. He was stubborn. He go do shit his way. He didn't feel like the advice was going to help him.
Pure surroundings too. That's another Taurus thing. That's what we were talking about earlier. They like Venus environment.
Mhm.
Libra's a
Got the
little
sacred.
yeah. Libra's a little more
I
serious.
know I just got back in here. Everybody talking about me and everything, and I'm like, all right, Taurus energy, big energy. All right, all right.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
Taurus.
you, Raphael.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
just put the whole air and earth together. So the earth is the Taurus, and then they always need air because of that Libra energy. They're ruled by Venus, and Venus controls both Libra and Taurus. So that's where the air comes in. You harness both of those energies in some sort of way. Okay.
Gifting.
Good things, good things.
Oh, there's a lot of Taurus in here.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus too.
That's fine. Taurus, Capricorn, Scorpio. You know what I'm saying?
You
Mhm.
got that double earth with some water.
You got double earth. Yeah, you definitely got to stay grounded, or you gonna get lost in your thoughts. For
That's
sure,
like
for sure.
push up, boy. Push
I
up. That's what I'm
definitely gotta say what? Say that again.
You got to stay grounded, or you gonna be lost in your thoughts. Like,
Y'all see me meditating. Come on now.
I'm right here doing.
It's funny y'all mention being in that fresh air because every and before I clock into my shift at 12 o'clock, I have to go across the street to the beach if it's nice, permitting weather to get that grounding, to get that fresh air. It's vital.
That's nice. You work.
Virginia Beach.
Oh, I live in Norfolk, Virginia, so it's close to Virginia Beach.
I got a cousin out there.
Yeah.
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach area.
Yeah, it's you see how you can. It never fails. Everybody can relate to it. You know what I mean? So like, it's the best way to diagnose. You know, but it's the true diagnosing.
Yeah, the energies don't lie.
Mhm. Yeah, can't shake it.
Mhm.
Materialistic Saturn. You know what I mean? These are characteristic traits.
Hmm.
That's all it is. Trying to find. Oh, yeah, some certain things like inflammatory. You know, that's a Mars. That's something that we learned already. You know, that stuck out with me. I'll never forget. You know, Mars. We got Mars placement. You're gonna be prone to inflammatory or inflammation. That's just something would need to know to adjust. You know what I mean? So, and then the whole lungs. You know, Gemini. It's like the fourth patient that we diagnose with lung problems and Gemini, placements and stuff like that. So yeah, it never fails, Um, any other thoughts on this chapter? All right. Let me turn the recording off.